Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Leached On a Podcast, where I'm leached onto a certain topic for 15 minutes or more. Now, as you can see, I got a new microphone. I'm going to be trying out here a new setup. The last time I had even used a microphone was in my collaboration episode that I have cooking up that should be coming out pretty soon. But besides also having a new microphone, I do also have a soundboard. So let's try out some of these sound effects. I cannot hear them. For the record, like it'll pop up on my audio browser that they're there, but I can't hear them. So let's try with this one. I also hope you can't hear the clicking because they're kind of like mechanical. And I don't know if I could like talk over it or whatever. Let's do one more. I don't know what it'll sound like. Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to edit the episode and see how it goes. It was a pain to set this up because my desk isn't really podcaster friendly, if I'm quite honest. So honestly, I tried my best out here. But in relative, before what we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna do a little catching up because even though that this is a pretty serious topic, and I'm gonna be here advocating for you guys and to motivate and uplift. There also is some kind of like, let's see what else is going on in my life. Because once again, I use these as kind of like data trackers. I kind of just try to see what point in my life I'm at when I'm making these videos, what I'm doing, who I am, etc., etc. It is currently the 17th of January. You guys probably will be seeing this a little later. I feel like I say this all the time, but I probably will get it out of my head. It helps me understand that, at the time of uploading an episode, I am still a different person. I'm really one of those people that try to get better 1% every day. I don't know if I kind of have ever done a about me episode, but really I try to I take criticism and feedback very seriously. A lot of you guys who know me out here, I try to listen to a lot of what you guys have on my episodes, whether that be technical issues, whether that be audio issues, or whether that be submissions. And I'm really proud to say that today is a submission brought in by somebody. It's kind of like you know who you are. I'm not gonna blur the name out there, but a lot of the things that drive also my episodes are personal conversations I'm having with people, what I'm noticing frequently in my life, conversations I'm having that are popping up between me and different people. And honestly, I think in a lot of reflecting I've done within this year, I've been able to reflect more of my bad, but not let it consume me. Because I've been really bad. One of my biggest flaws has been any type of criticism or feedback that I hear, I soak in it, I let myself feel so bad for myself that I beat myself up about it. And it's kind of one of those things that nobody's going to pick you up. I mean, I could sit here and talk the worst things about myself, but it's my life that I'm going to continue to live. So if you're going to sit there and just be like, oh man, I'm the worst, I made a mistake and I'm never going to come back from it, I'm a failure, I let my coaches down, I let my parents down, I let my significant other down, and you let that make up who you are, it's going to be a tough rut to get out of. It's not impossible. It is not impossible, but it is a very tough rut to get out of. And I think I've been in that rut multiple times, and I think it's kind of one of those things of just growing up, and also saying that I'm a bit peculiar from where I am also from. I don't exactly fit the norms. I'm not exactly I would say I'm just different. I've already assorted that I'm different, and I'm okay with that. I've been okay with being different for a long time, but I haven't been okay with also understanding that I'm flawed. Not saying that I went around places and been like, oh yeah, guys, I'm so perfect. I'm so perfect. I just don't have that mentality, but I have also never went around saying like, okay, I'm at least decent. Okay, I'm good enough. I'm okay. It was just constant streams of beating myself down or beating myself up and falling down. But what makes life a living is that you fall 7 times and you get up 8. And I think in the flaws I've made, I don't do them consciously. And I feel like in a way that's a little worse because it's not like I mean to do the things, make the mistakes I have made, hurt the people I have hurt, been nasty or disrespectful to those I have. It's something that it's just like, it's driven a lot out of my fear. Whether it's my fear of what other people are going to think about me, whether it's my fear of not wanting to be disliked, whether it's my fear of like starting something new or trying to break something old. And I do tend to be very scared. And I think in that I can cover some of the fears I have for this year is disappointing others. It's something that it is scary to me because I try really hard to be the best version of myself. And I also had a main fear that I'm scared that, nobody's gonna like me, and I'm scared that I'm gonna not only just let somebody down, but just I hate being disliked in a way. So with that, I try to not code switch, but try to just either act out of myself to please a person or act out of myself to please a group of people. And that usually has came to disappoint me when I've tried to please like people who are a bit more who look down on my identity as a whole, whether that's being Hispanic or being gay. And a lot of that I have lost myself, and I've learned like, okay, well, those are groups of people I don't really care for their input. But when it comes to people who mean a lot to me, and I have shared a lot of myself with them, and I hurt them and disappoint them, there's usually two tracks you could go about it, right? Whether you acknowledge the hurt and disappointment and give apologies where they're due. And then from that, there's another two branches. You may never speak again, or it might rekindle something. But then also, kind of coming back to track one, you do apologize, and there's also times where you just don't, and then you kind of skip forward to that just not talking. And I do know that most of the people I've had conflict with in my life usually I owe them an apology, right? Most of the time, it's either I got a little selfish, not even a little selfish, I got selfish, or I was impatient, or I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted and had led people astray. And that's not even just the same relationships. Sometimes I try to pitch really good ideas, and in pitching the really good ideas, I've gotten a group of people with me. And once I realized either the ideas weren't just fundable, whether that's through finances, or the ideas aren't exactly achievable because maybe not everybody has enough time, whatever it may be, I have led groups of people astray. And even in that, to say that they like, oh, hate me because I really led them astray, doesn't always happen, but there have been times where it's just, okay, well, we don't talk because I did fail them. I told them, hey, let's guys, if you guys join me, we'll do something, and it just not happen. And a lot of that I have been more prominent in beating myself up about. But now as I'm getting older and appearing to a lot more responsibilities, I cannot have that nature of beating myself up, because not only do I let others down, but I'm also letting myself down. And I don't know if I've preached it enough, but once you let yourself down, you lost. You lost, and you jumped straight into that rut. And that's to say that the people that I know I have hurt, I'm one of those more, I give an apology when I have done enough of reflecting, but most of the time the apology just needs to be given right then and there. And that's saying, I know when I end things with people, most of the time I'm more prone to just not apologize in the moment, because I mean, I'm heated, they're not hearing me out, I'm not hearing them out. It's not appropriate for an apology, right? So sometimes that's not right, but right in the sense like, well, that's where I end up at. And I end up giving apologies way, 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 way later down the line, when the apology had to be given, if anything, the next day, or as soon as the conversation was being held, like, okay, I said all this, and I'm sorry that I led you astray, or I'm sorry that I have to say this, or I'm sorry that I'm being honest. And I usually don't do that, if that makes sense. I had a situation here recently where I had to lay my priorities down straight and be honest, because I hadn't been honest prior. There was a situation with another person that I had kind of put through a lot of turmoil. And because I was so afraid of being honest with my feelings a couple months ago, I had hurt both parties. And that was saying, as of late, when I was able to really, okay, well, I need to not only fix my priorities, but be in line with my emotions and stop denying it, or stop trying to redirect the blame, because in reality, it's something I've caused, it's something I've spurged on, and I've changed my mind. I had to have that conversation, and that conversation is one that needs honesty, right? If I change my mind, or these are my emotions, I need to be honest with them. And in times of trying to not only get the timeline straight of what happened, because I had left out some details, I had to be honest to everybody infected. And it wasn't something easy. I had quite literally vomited out of anxiety. I was so scared doing it, and I felt like a pussy. Like, genuinely, I felt so pussy like that. I could just sit there and withheld so much information, and not only lie to myself, but affect everybody, and try to do things that, like, I looked nice and it felt nice, and I got a little selfish, right? I had seen something that somebody had offered to me, and whether or not to say that it was compatible, I still went forth with it, because it was something that I knew would have brought feelings of goodness, right? To know that you could get something good out of somebody, and I mean, I was just going to be myself. So if that was enough for them, or exactly what they wanted, hey, I'm being myself. So the matter of fact wasn't really what I'm giving and I'm draining myself, but it was more rather I knew I could have got something, and I got a bit selfish in that sense. And to say, was it fair? No, it wasn't at all. And I can sit up here and say that. But with a lot of reflection I've done with it in this new year, it's having to also face those truths. I mean, it's not exactly a situation I'm gonna victimize myself in or say, oh gosh, like that was the worst thing. Well, it was kind of a hard thing that I've been in, but not only did I realize that I'm not gonna be pitch perfect, not pitch perfect, but I'm not gonna be 100% perfect and infallible, right? That I'm going to have something wrong with me, and to stay blinded that I'm gonna have something wrong with me is even worse, because then I had a conversation with somebody as of late, and they were talking to me. They're like, you run away from things. I was like, no, I don't. Me run away from things? No, I face things head on. But earlier I just called myself pussy, so pussies wouldn't face, wouldn't be able to face things on as I had claimed that I had. And so with that, I kind of had, and I don't think that it's bad to want to get there, right? I do want to become a person that can face my fears and not only just be confrontational, but also just be grounded in every moment, every situation, where there doesn't have to be okay, let's go back and I have to lay out the timeline and lay down the bricks. No, the bricks are already laid. I had already laid the bricks. The house is built and it's stable. But if I'm in the course of building a house while it's raining, while it's snowing, while it's dry out, while it's the sun is sweltering on me, it's gonna be a lot tougher to build that house. And so just a little reflection moment I had came within myself. And it's one of those things that it does suck knowing that I had hurt people that had really looked up to me a lot. And I guess in the same ways, I hope I showed them a lesson of not exactly them not, they, oh, well, don't be naive, but that I am not perfect and I am only just human. And I think that I had a bad habit of bringing people with me when I was going through not only just inner turmoils, but just conflicts with like just my daily life conflicts. And a big part of me didn't want to show them that I had went through these conflicts, right? Because like that would just, they would lose confidence in me if they knew that I was somebody who had conflicts, who had inner conflicts, who had butted heads with people, who had butted heads with my own family. Like, gosh, that sounds like I'm just such a red flag person. But it's what makes people human, right? And that's also saying, since I'm very extrovert, I'm very outgoing, I do tend to get in conflict a lot more often than others. And to say that the conflicts I've been in now are probably like the best conflicts I've been in my whole life, because not only am I more mature, but I've also grown to be a better communicator, and also just be making sure that I'm saying things truthfully, not really too much I, or you, more, hey, this is how I feel. I'm hearing you and I'm understanding, and even talking slower if I have to, or just shutting up to let the floor be theirs for a little bit. But to be able to have these conversations are ones I hadn't had even come a year ago. And I think that I had always been so scared of even calling myself somewhat selfish. But in some specific situations, I can turn out to be a bit selfish, especially when it comes to protecting my own feelings, or when it comes to my own fears. I'm going to put up a shield and have a knife, and I'm going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not showing you my fears. You want to come at me with my, you want to try to have me face my fears? No, I'm armored up. I'm not doing that, which isn't fair. And it's something I've been coming as of late. And I'm not speaking up on here to go on my soapbox to beat myself up. I just want it to be known that it is something that I do, and I'm kind of currently actively reflecting on, not struggling with, just rather more reflecting on. And it's one of those things that I had put myself in situations that it's more I would put myself in if I were in a different mindset. And so it's a lot harder to go through those things. And then when explaining the story later, be like, yeah, well, I did do all those things, but the emotion that I usually do those things with wasn't really there. And having to not only tell that with the people I had shared those experiences with, but also with those that I'm talking to when I'm reflecting, and just saying like, oh, well, like for example, like, let's say I do like basketball, but it's like, oh, well, you went and played basketball for a team, and you said that you don't do that, so why are you well? And it's just one of those things that's like, yeah. Then I became also a little hypocritical in some things, because it's like, oh, on paper you see, oh, well, I played basketball for a team, but this team, I didn't even want to join a team. Why the hell am I on a team if I didn't even want to join a team? So it's kind of one of those things that went into a reflection period. Then I'm kind of just like, well, it was presented to me, right, that I could possibly join a team. And so instead of trying to be so pessimistic and rejecting things, because sometimes even that's a big fear of mine, is that I try to take up all the opportunities I can, but sometimes that doesn't mean that I have to. And I get that confused a lot with I can and have. So since I see that there's an opportunity there, I go on and take it, because I see more of the advantages that could come out of it, right? But then often, more times than not, I end up getting more cons than when I had had a gilded view of. So that's kind of what's reflected on and kind of going on. Another thing is I finally locked in rivalry. I cannot say it. But what an amazing show to see how complex that same-sex relationships can be. It's just beautiful. I'm not gonna really go into spoilers, and honestly, I probably could make an episode about it, so you will be hearing from me soon about gay hockey men. I kind of definitely just wanted to not only do some reflection, but also go into the meaning of saying no. Right. I definitely want to do. I not even definitely. I not even definitely. Oh my gosh! Wait, I totally forgot. I did get. I got accepted into University of North Carolina at Wilmington. So that I was going to mention that a little earlier, but I kind of went on my soapbox on reflection and things like that. But I did get into UNCW. I will be class of 2030. That's to say that I'm going in for my bachelor's degree in business administration. I'm hoping to concentrate in marketing, marketing strategy more specifically, because I really do enjoy not only connecting with one another, but also being able to be a greater part of a whole, right? So if I'm the salesman, hey, at least I'm the reason, the numbers are up. And those are things I just have always gravitated towards, and I'm really grateful that I got in. So go Seahawks. But with that being said, in the business world, you want to be persuasive, right? You hear a no is really just a redirection into a maybe. And then a maybe is just a yes. But that's a great mindset to have when you're trying to sell a product, right? But when it comes to personal relations, and then there's boundaries being set, no does mean no. There is no world where if somebody's sitting here and tell you, do not touch me, leave me alone. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do this. In no way is it your place, or sorry, not your place. No world is it somebody else's place to tell you that your no means a yes, or even make you feel like you could say something other than no, because a no is a no. And that's saying, boy, I am a beggar. Okay, I get a little like, oh, you like, if my teacher's like, no, I won't give you extra credit. Teach, like, I got some tissue boxes. You really don't want them, So it's like, I do in my mind understand that no is no, and sometimes I'm more oftentimes than not being a little playful when I try to play around it. But even then in my own life, I've seen that me trying to be a little playful with it has rubbed people the wrong way, because it's like, dude, no, it's a teacher. Like, there was one time the teacher said no, I said no. Like, do I need to say it in a different language? It's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. So honestly, not only in realizing that I've been on both sides of the ladder, because I've also been the type to tell people no, and those same people go and disrespect me and still do things or still make me feel so uncomfortable. And it's like, hey, I said no. And in reality, the people who struggle with hearing no as no also are the same people who struggle with just accepting things as they are, right? And honestly, a lot of people that I've engaged with too do things and they're like, oh, like, I just wish I said no. They didn't exactly say no, but rather they were thinking that they wanted to say no, or like, oh, I shouldn't have. And there comes so much regret. If you are somebody who you find yourself being more regretful because you didn't say no, understand what would have went wrong if you did say no. And honestly, in me wanting to do a lot of things in my life, there are very few times I have been rejected. I think this year I have definitely been faced more in doing some more rejecting and some more like, or doing things and then like, yeah, I don't really want to do it anymore. I had talked about it in another one of my podcast episodes, is that at the end of the day, it is your decision, right? I can't do a decision to sign up for something or do something and go forward with it. But if either by the middle or the end of it, I'm realizing I just don't want to do this anymore, I also do have that same right to, well, give the conversation where it's due, because in going into tracks, I have taken path A where I didn't give that person a conversation. And that was saying in volunteer opportunities, I just signed up for something and I haven't been one to check in and be like, hey, I really can't do this anymore. I've been really busy. And then there's that expectation that I get marked out of the list. I get marked out of any benefits that I had first enrolled in because I didn't stick through with it. And I also didn't let anybody know. Same thing with my academics. There have been times where I could have been offered an extended due date with no penalties. But since I didn't email my teacher to let them know what was going on, I got the penalties, even though I had a sincere reason. But because I didn't go forward and give that conversation or give my reasoning, it overrides it, right? Or even times in my own personal life where I try to get something and try to work for something and do and get into something, and not that the person sucked or that I didn't get anything good out of it, because in reality I just realized it wasn't something for me. It wasn't something that I think I ended up really realizing that I wanted to stick with longer than it already has been, right? Whether that's to say that I had my my mind elsewhere, or that's to say that I had just noticed more things, whatever the reasoning may be, it had came to my mind and I became a parent, and then I've given, but then I've also followed track B where you do give those conversations, because more times than not, if you know that you're the one pulling, you do have to give that conversation. And I think that that's a tough truth. I try to shy away from, I mean, even a couple months ago, if you asked me like, hey, like, you know, you need to give these certain people, no, I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And a lot of it coming back to still being selfish, because it doesn't matter if I'm not ready. That person needs that conversation, right? And if anything, I should have just dropped my shield and my sword and went forward and given that conversation because it was due. And I think that a lot of people are so afraid of saying no because they're afraid of hearing that person's feelings of rejection. And at the same time, it's not your responsibility. If I'm sitting here and having a conversation with someone and they tell me no, and it does, like, and I take it personal because of something going on within me, and I show and I react and I'm like, oh, you told me no, like, this is how I feel because you told me no. They have every right to walk away and not pay me any mind, because once that no is said, really my next word should be like, oh, okay. If anything, oh, okay, I'm sorry, or oh, okay, thank you for being honest. And it's not saying that if you're in this person's shoes, it's not your place to also feel guilty or be like, oh, they don't care about how I feel. No, you had this conversation, you had a deal on the table. Da, 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 da. Okay, no, I don't want it. Okay, I mean, what else more is there to say? You know, I think when people really present and say maybe, like, oh, maybe later, then that's when you can pitch your ideas and try to be a little bit persuasive, or try to get it to be steer more to a confident yes. But otherwise, if it's a no, you have to drop it there. You do have to drop it there. And if you're engaging with people who you struggle with telling no, ask yourself why. I mean, no is just a 2-letter word that's in every language, you know? Like, not only the English language do they say no, they say in Spanish with a little accent, no, you know? So it's like, it's a very understood, not derogatory, a very understood statement word, right? It's a sentence. It can stand alone. It's a complete thought. You can put no and then period. And that's it. No more reasonings. And honestly, if you're giving reasonings, it's just being generous, because at that point, once again, you don't owe them that reasoning. They asked you, they pitched you an idea, they asked you something, they proposed something, they asked you to commit to something. That no, just got to say no. And then there's some people who don't do well being told no. And with that, that's kind of just individual experiences, right? That's just kind of something that they have to come into their own terms. Once again, I would probably even come up here to say on my soapbox that I can struggle with being told no, because I like to work for things and let my efforts show versus like the final product. Because to me, I mean, you know, if I can have a opportunity where I present myself as a more grown and a more mature version of myself, because whatever they had foreseen that drove them to say no and they were looking for something else, I could be that what they're looking for, something else. And since I try to grow not only in myself but better my traits at all times and better my strengths, and if anything minimize my weaknesses, I'm willing to take that path. Some people aren't. Some people, once they're told no, they will stay the same and nothing about them will change. But that's not your responsibility to hope that they will change. People can only change if they want to. And I know this because I know in times where I've stayed stagnant, I chose to. I saw no wrong in my actions, and I decided, okay, I don't need to change. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. But there was. And not only in fumbling the bag did I have to realize that, or in somebody else putting the face value in my face, like putting a mirror right to my face and be like, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing wrong, or losing people. I've came to realize all these things that I was in the wrong. But I only came to those terms from my own experiences with others, right? Those people could have showed me a mirror to my face and I'm like, oh, I look good, there's nothing wrong with me. I wouldn't have changed. I wouldn't have. And I think starting in small exercises of being told of telling others no, whether that is like you do something, you join a club and you realize, another club has more of my time, I can't do this. That's pretty much saying no. That's pretty much a rejection. No, I cannot join your club any longer. And starting small build your confidence to go up. Even saying no in tiny things like, hey, do you want pizza for lunch or do you want spaghetti for lunch? No, I really don't want either. Okay, what do you want? Just saying no. And even if you're scared, even if that sounds like the worst thing you can do, starting small will help you to say no to bigger things. For example, I can use my mom as a personal example. My mom has openly admitted that she struggled with saying no. And now she's at the point where she's gained enough confidence that when she has 5 different job offers all at her table. And that was saying two of them were the most highest paying. She was able to tell those two no because they didn't adjust to her lifestyle that she had. Her priority was being more involved in her children's life. And if she had taken the higher paying jobs just because they're higher paying and there's more benefits to them, she would have lost something that meant a lot to her. So she took the job that gave her the lifestyle that she wanted, that she deserved, that she had worked for, with the not an incredibly lower wage, right? I mean, it was short of $13, but still, she had put her values and her beliefs and her lifestyle above a pay grade. And that's to say, like, that's more in the business world, but she was able to tell them no. And did it take time? Yes, because there were times in my mom's life where I know that she took worse job offers because of the money. And I seen it tear her apart. But to know now that she's at a really steady point, and honestly, I can even sit up here and say that I admire my mother for that she can say no to things that look so much better on paper. But all of that came from growing the confidence of saying no to smaller things. It's also to say that my mom's pretty good at telling me no. I had to learn that the hard way. But with that being said, no means no. And in the lessons that I have learned, I have been rejected in them. I have heard people's inner feelings in how they feel because something didn't work out anymore, whether that was to say that I cut things off or that they did. And as much as they have that right to give that floor, the no and the redirection, the rejection is a lot. It helps me grow a lot more respect, because there are people out there that do not play about themselves. And when you become a person that does not play about themselves, people get intimidated. So being able to say no helps you out in the long run. But with that being said, I hope the audio sounds great. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see y'all later.